This year, we were able to get the quarterback that's going to be our franchise quarterback. And now you added a couple pieces in free agency. Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, Evan Ingram. So we're excited to say, okay, the young talent that we're getting ready to get from the draft with the 7 picks that we have, unless we trade back and get more picks or whatever the case may be, you're like, who else are we going to add to help us win more games? Who else are we going to add so we can get back to the playoffs and start winning in the playoffs as well? So I think everybody is just excited to see who we add in the draft to help us out.
And I think the position that's getting more and more attention by the day is running back.
The running back.
ESPN's Field Yates had a mock draft just yesterday where he's got Hampton from North Carolina coming to the Denver Broncos. And George Paton was at owners' meetings down at Palm Beach earlier this week and was asked about adding a running back in the draft.
It's a strong class, and there's different flavors throughout the draft. And I think you can get a good back in the second round up and all the way to the 6th round. That's how it is. There's just so many of them. You have the first and second down power back. You have the change of pace. You have the third down. You have the 3 down. Not as many 3 down backs, But no, it's a good class. We'll get it back in this draft.
Man, I love it. He describes every kind of running back, and then the last 2 seconds is what everyone wanted to talk about. We'll get it back in this draft. Now, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out the Broncos are going to use one of their 7 picks on a running back.
That's the missing piece.
Still interesting to hear an NFL GM admit that.
Yeah, look, he's admitting it because that's the only piece we need. Like, truly, a glaring piece that we need, what is it?
Running back.
Okay, so how can I sit here and lie? Like, we're going to get a running back. I know they're going to go get a running back. So we're going to get a running back. Now, the question is, when do you get this running back? Do you get him in the 1st round, the 2nd round, 3rd round, the 7th round? That's where we have to have these discussions like, what's best for this team? I like Amarion Hampton, Will, and a lot of people have him going to the Denver Broncos. I believe that you can have running backs, but you need a certain running back here that can be successful for all 3 downs. And there's only a couple running backs that can do that. Amarion Hampton is one of them that you can use in the passing downs, that you can use as a running back, that you can use to block. So he can be out there all the time. And when you're able to be out there all the time as a running back, you can get in a groove, you can get in a rhythm. And all of a sudden you look up and you're breaking for long touchdowns or you're catching for a long touchdown because you're in the game more. So we need to get the running back for the Denver Broncos, not just a running back.
Well, and in that answer from George Paton, I'll just ask you, do you think he provided any hints on the type of running back he's looking for? Of course, we all want a 3-down running back. That's what the Broncos have needed for quite some time now. But in terms of, we heard Mike Kliss on with Cecil and Josh today, and Kliss, and I'm paraphrasing, but Kliss basically hinted that, hey, Ginty at 20 would be awesome, but they're not going to get Ginty at 20. And Hampton at 20 feels like a little bit of a reach. Maybe they trade back to 26, 27, and a guy like Hampton will still be there and then can stockpile a pick or 2 in the process. Do you buy this notion that and again, this is Mike's words.
Well, it's interesting
that it's kind of no man's land for a running back being at 20.
Well, look, no, it's not just no man's land for a running back. If a running back is there's going to be a couple running backs that can be truly a 1st-round running back. That's going to be Ginty and it's going to be Hampton. Those 2 are bona fide 1st-round running backs. And then you have the Ohio State running back Henderson that could be one as well. Why do you want to mess around with it, though, Will? Why do you want to mess around with it when you know that there may be a sure running back that can help you out right away, be an impactful player that can rush for more than a 22-yard gain at any given moment, any given play? Why mess around with it? Yeah, you can go out there, like I just said earlier, and get a running back. But you need the running back for the Denver Broncos, the running back that can be here for a very long time, the running back that we can count on and rely on every snap if you have to.
But you're higher on Hampton than I am.
Why? So what's wrong with Hampton?
Well, he ain't Ginty, first of all. And that's the only running back I think is worthy of a 1st-round pick.
He doesn't need to be Ginty, though.
Well, Ginty's generational. I mean, I hear Cecil talking about Ginty's a combo of Emmitt Smith and Saquon Barkley.
And I'm not willing to go that far. I'm not willing to go that far with Ashton Ginty. Ashton Ginty is a really, really good running back. But when you talk about a generational talent at the running back position, they look different. They're athletic as hell. Give you an example. Saquon Barkley. Does Ashton Ginty look like a Saquon Barkley? There's not a lot of people out there looking like a Saquon Barkley with 240 pounds of weight that he's carrying, but can run a 4.3, that can still make moves like he's 180 pounds, that he can still take it to the house with those quads being as big as you and I put together. That's a generational running back, and not everybody can be a generational running back.
Right, but if you're going to spend a first-round pick on a running back, he needs to be generational. And I think Genty's the only generational guy in this class.
Well, I have to disagree with you on that one. Amari Hampton is going to be a really good running back as well. He has a big lower body. He has the speed, and he holds on to the football. My man doesn't fumble. He's going to be the guy that we can depend on every single play if you have to, like I just said. It's not just Ashton Genty.
We've done the running back out of North Carolina thing in the last handful of years.
Don't look at the name North Carolina and be like, we went there. Look at the player specifically.
How can I not? Because you're going to see those highlights on draft night. You're going to go, we just saw those with Javonte Williams.
How did Javonte Williams look his first year?
He looked pretty good.
He looked really good.
Yeah.
He would have went for over 1,000 yards if he wasn't splitting carries with my man Melvin Gordon, a.k.a. Melly Mel. But you don't. You know, like you split carries. Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon split carries. They both had about 900 yards apiece. Now, the reason Javonte Williams didn't pan out like he was supposed to was because his knee blew up on him. And it's hard when you're a bigger running back to come back from an ACL, not just an ACL. When your knee blows up on you, that's the ACL, MCL, anything that's in that knee is messed up. So it's hard to come back from that. So I'm not sitting here saying, okay, just because Javonte Williams didn't pan out, Amari Hampton's going to do the same thing, because if Javonte Williams did not get hurt, he would have probably still been here as a really good running back for us.
Maybe. He also didn't look very good to start 2022 anyways, but I guess a lot of that could be blamed on Nathaniel Hackett. I do think this trade up, trade back thing. Oh, and real quick, I do have sympathy for Javonte Williams blowing out his knee. I do. I'm admitting it's a little irrational, but we've been there, done that with a running back out of North Carolina. Didn't work. And we've been there, done that with tight end out of Michigan. Everyone wants Colston Loveland. Been there, done that with Jake Butt.
So who do you want, Will? Like, you don't want a running back in the first round if it's Ashton Genty. You don't want Colston Loveland, who by the way, is probably going to be there at 20 for us. So then who do you want?
I'll tell you who I want.
All right, who do you want?
I want Luther Burden III.
You want the receiver?
Dynamic. You can never stockpile enough receivers in this day and age of the NFL. We're not sure what the future holds for Cortland Sutton. You pair Burden
I'll
with
tell you right now,
Mims
Cortland's going to
Bailey.
get some deal done. They're going to get a deal done with Cortland. He's staying here for at least 2 more years.
No, hold on. What was the report from Chris Thomason of the Denver Gazette last week? They have told Cortland Sutton, Nick Bonito, Zach Allen, we're not negotiating anything until after the draft.
Which is understandable. You're focusing on the draft.
Right. So why would you pay Cortland Sutton if you take Luther Burden III at number 20 overall?
I don't believe they're going to take a receiver at number 20. I believe that they've talked to Cortland. They probably promised him that they're going to get this done, but they're focusing on the draft. Look, if we go out there and get Luther Burden and he ends up panning out, great. All right, great. Like, we need more weapons. But, like, what is the one position that we need, we must have?
You can take Judkins in the third round.
No,
that's
there
cool
you go.
with me, dude.
You're being disrespectful now, because now you're just throwing a name out there, and I don't want to disrespect my man because he did go for over 1,000 yards at Ohio State.
Yeah, I watched him go for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in the national championship game.
You're willing to pass up on Amari Hampton because of you saying you want this receiver. Like, no, there's only a couple running backs out there that truly can make that impact that we need here, and that takes pressure off of Bo Nix. It takes pressure off of Cortland. You added a tight end with Evan Ingram, so that's going to help take pressure off. Go out there and get the running back. Don't be greedy.
Okay, but what makes more sense? Burden in the first and Judkins in the third, or Hampton in the first and some receiver you've never heard of in the third?
I'm going Amari Hampton. I told you that is what we're missing. Cortland
I'd rather get the
coming
receiver
back
at the premium pick and get the running back a little further down. And my man Kyron Williams, 5th-round pick, top 5 running back in the NFL. You don't need to spend premium picks on running backs unless their names are Ashton Genty.
Oh, well. So when Amari Hampton's name comes across the screen, which it will, are you
Maybe
going
in
to
the
be booing?
second round.
Are you going to be booing?
I'm not going to be booing. I always give draft picks a chance. I don't think there's a lot of value. I agree with what Mike Cliff said. If you want to take Hampton, then trade down 8 spots and take him at 28 and stockpile a second.
That's if you think he's going to be there. That we're assuming that he is just going to be there.
NFL
Like,
GMs have shown
naive.
over the last handful of years that running backs are not that important to them in the draft. It's just a fact.
Well, guess what, Will? all the teams that were in the playoffs this year, did they have a running back
Yes.
other than the Denver Broncos?
From free agency. Derrick Henry, free agent. Joe Mixon, free
Okay,
agent.
but
Josh Jacobs, free agent.
We didn't get a running back from free agency. So we're going to have to get a running back from the draft because there were not the running backs of last year in the free agency in this free agency.
All right, the good news, they don't have to take a quarterback. We have discussed that. It's just probably the best part of this offseason. We're set at quarterback, but George Paton, who talked down in Palm Beach at owners' meetings this year, was asked about the stability of having a quarterback, and then also listen for another little nugget in here from the Broncos GM.
It's nice, but there's always different challenges. I mean, there's always different stress points, and free agency, man, that's a crazy time because you really don't have any control, and you don't know what they're doing on the other side. You don't know how many teams are involved, and so that's a crazy time. And now, as we head into the draft, we're picking a little further back. We're picking 20. Who's going to be there? Do we have to move up? Maybe we move back. All those scenarios come into play. So the challenges are always ahead, no matter what.
Little gamesmanship from George there. Do we move up? Do we move back? So I present to you, Phillip Lindsay, what is more likely? Like if you on draft night are doing the show with Zach, and you're hearing chatter about a trade, is it more likely that the Broncos go up and get a Ginty or a Tyler Warren, or is it more likely they go back and hope someone like Hampton is still on the board?
It's more likely that the Denver Broncos will trade back. Like, why would you trade up, give your first this year? You may have to give up your first next year, depending on how far you're trying to move up. I see the Denver Broncos saying, okay, if Amari Hampton is already picked up or we know we can get him later on, then let's trade back, get more picks so that we have more opportunities to hit on these players and bring more talent to the organization. It's a smarter thing to do when you're sitting there at 20. But if there's a player that you must have and you're trying to play this game of like maybe he'll be there in a couple picks, don't do that, especially when you need a position. But I think it's more than likely if we're going to have some kind of trade scenario, we're trading back for more picks so that George can have more opportunities, get the right players in the building to help us win more games. Instead of 10 games like we did this year, we're looking for 11 or 12. How do you do that? You gotta have a boost with your draft class. Yeah,
I agree with you on that it is more likely the Broncos trade back because trading up's expensive. And they finally have their full repertoire of picks after recovering from the disastrous Russell Wilson trade, which, oh, by the way, is our number 7 mile-high milestone today. We'll get into that a little later in the show. 30 biggest stories in the last 30 years in Denver sports. But I think, too, you said so George can make those picks.
Yeah. George is the general manager.
I think we got to be careful here. I think Sean's making a lot of these picks. And I don't think Sean wants to trade back. That doesn't seem like a Sean style to me when he's all excited about Bo Nix and adding weapons and, Luther Burden's there at 20, but we're going to trade back? Who wins that power struggle, Sean or George? I think Sean wins it, considering Sean's the one who made their first-round pick last year in Bo Nix.
Well, I'm going to take Zach Bye's words. You have George here for a reason. We know that Sean is the boss. But the reason why George is still the general manager is because he does a great job of evaluating talent. He does a great job with the draft. So
other than Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett and Randy Gregory and Tim Patrick.
All those people that you're listing, they're not draft picks. Though I'm talking about just solely the draft.
Well, Greg Dulcich, he was a draft pick.
Dulcich was a miss. Marvin Mims, Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper. You want to keep going? Like we can.
I mean, I appreciate that I provide some evidence and you counter with some evidence. That's how any good debate should go.
Then you know. So see, back down real fast. I can explain why George should be the guy in charge. No doubt that Sean is gonna step in if he really wants somebody. He did with Troy Franklin. Obviously,
the infamous 6:30 in the morning text message.
Exactly. Hey, it's like, why is Sean up so early? Sean's calling George, hey, I really want Troy. But for George, I think it's time for Sean to trust what George has going on because of what he has done so far with the drafts and let George hit on these picks to help Sean out. Now, Sean, now that he has his quarterback, he can sit back and relax and do his job as a head coach / offensive coordinator and start coming up with these creative plays to help Bo out, to help Evan Ingram out, to help Cortland out. That's Sean's job now. Let George evaluate talent and be the one to draft these players.
See, I think if you live in some sort of utopia, you're making a lot of sense. But does that really sound like Sean Payton's personality? Well, I got Bo, so George, I'm just going to chill. you handle the draft. I'm just going to be over here having a couple of lattes.
He'll
I
put
don't
his
think that's
input
going to be
in.
his mindset.
He'll put his input in here or there, but I believe that
Here
he's
or
starting
there,
to gain.
every pick.
Sean is starting to gain trust in George. I believe that. Why keep him around if you don't? I think that they have a better relationship
than
than
do what he wants to do.
Then Sean can move on and get a guy from the Saints that he likes. But that's not the case. He still has respect for George and respect what George does because George still works his ass off at the top there. Like, let's trust George to do his job. And if Sean has some kind of take on it and he wants a player, I guess he can override whatever George wants. But maybe that's when Greg Penner steps in and says, hey, I'm paying George too. I'm not just paying you. I'm paying George to do his job. Why does he have the general manager tag if he's not going to do some of the general manager work? So it goes hand in hand, man. Let George have his moment. He doesn't have a lot of them. Come on, Will.
Well, this program that Zach Bye and you do and I listen to every single day gives George a lot of flowers. So you guys are the biggest George Paton supporters in the market. But the other wrinkle to this, Phil, is the old BPA. The best player available.
Yeah.
And are the Broncos so stacked now after free agency that they can just look at their board and go, this player is the best player left. We have to take him. And George spoke a little bit about that earlier this week as well.
It's huge, and I've talked about it, flexibility. And so you want to fill some places where you need to get better, in free agency if you can. You don't want to force it. And so in the draft, you can take the best player throughout the draft.
So exactly. He just said it out loud there that, they added Hufanga and Greenlaw and Ingram.
You brought back DJ Jones.
DJ Jones is back. Your boy Jarrett Stidham's back.
Yep, Jarrett Stidham, look at you. You're just so heartbroken. No, Zach Wilson.
I think Sam Ellinger's got a shot to make this football team.
Sammy E, I was I was on the team with Sam Ellinger with the Colts.
Okay, what's he like?
And great dude. He kind of has that Taysom Hill factor. They're going to try to use packages with him, guys. I'm just warning you guys now. Sam Ellinger is a great athlete. Fast, big lower body. He can still throw the football. And honestly, when he was with me with the Colts, he ended up making the team there with the last 2 preseason games. He had 2 crazy games where he was like passing for like 250, 300 yards. And then there was a game where he ran for like over 150 yards. He ended up making the team, Will. And if you remember, that was when we had Matt Ryan as our starting quarterback.
Yep.
And Nick Foles was our backup. Well, Matt Ryan ends up getting benched. We're thinking, okay, Nick Foles is going to be the starting quarterback. Nick Foles is the only one to beat Tom Brady, win a Super Bowl. MVP, actually. And no, the coach jumped Sam Ellinger over Nick Foles to start the game. I so happened was starting in the game again with Sam, and we were playing the Patriots, and we got smacked. I want to say Sam threw for maybe 40 yards, maybe. But he's going to be a guy, guys, that comes in, does some quarterback rehab. You can put him in on 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1. So you have packages like Taysom Hill. And go from there. So I'm excited to see Sammy E go to work during camp.
All right. Well, I hope he takes Jarrett Stidham's spot as the backup.
Here you go. There you go.
Also, I got to call you out on something.
What happened?
You just had some Manning slander in there. You said the only quarterback to beat Tom Brady in a Super Bowl, Nick Foles. Eli Manning did it not once but twice, Phil.
Yeah, he did.
Eli Manning is the other answer to that.
But Eli Manning was the starting quarterback. Remember, Carson Wentz was supposed to be in the Super Bowl, and Nick Foles.
Foles played like the last 4 weeks of that season.
He did, but like, what was Foles supposed to be the guy that?
No, you guys were hoping in Indy that Foles could rediscover some of that backup magic and come back. And
he was boys with Frank Wright. Frank Wright was over there with the Eagles when they won the Super Bowl, offensive coordinator.
That's weird. They went with Ellinger then. I don't get that decision.
It was weird, but that's the Colts for you. The Colts are weird.
I was going to say, how was that one explained to the team? One more here from George Paton. I love George Paton talking about the Joker because he's a couple weeks ago or a month ago, he was talking about the gosh dang Joker, because he was sick of Sean talking about it. But George, this is just a little peek behind the curtain. This is question number 22 at the Combine on if he feels like the search for a Joker is finally over.
Yeah, it's probably, I don't think the search is ever over. I do think we have a Joker. We have a mismatched tight end that we really like. But again, we're always looking for the best players.
Oh, that cracks me up. Listen to the disdain for this question.
Yeah, it's probably.
Yeah, I guess we have to talk about it again.
I think he can't stand Sean going on with like Kay Adams and talking about Jokers.
Well, I just think for George, it's like, Sean, what are you looking for? Like you're talking about this Joker, which makes it harder for George to do his job because now he's not looking for like maybe the best player. He's looking for a specific player that fits the need of the Joker position, and so now that makes it harder for George, who's a talent evaluator, to find that right one for him. And so maybe it's like I thought this was going to be over when we signed Evan Ingram to that contract, but maybe Sean has other plans. Like, hey, we want somebody else. I want you to go out there and get somebody else at the running back position that can be like an Alvin Kamara.
It's funny. We both agree on the trade back is more likely.
First time agreeing, Will.
I know.
Crazy.
But now I'm going to throw a wrinkle in it.
Okay.
Would the shock of the draft be the Broncos going from like 20 to 12 or 20 to 13?
So you're saying moving up?
Move it up, paying a pretty steep price because we know going up 7 spots is a lot of money in the first round, a lot of draft capital.
You'll probably have to give your first round this year or first round next year.
Yeah, and maybe one more pick even
and
as well.
maybe one more, maybe a second round.
And what if Tyler Warren is the Joker? And the Ingram thing's great because they like Ingram and they think he can contribute the next couple of years. But what if Sean Payton does get his way and George reacts like this?
Yeah, it's probably. I don't think the search is ever over.
The search is never over because behind closed doors, Sean Payton's hammering the table for Tyler Warren to be his next Joker, and he knows they have to trade up to go get him.
I'm doing the same thing as George. Will.
Right, you're sighing.
Yeah, I don't believe that you do that. Now, we had this conversation, Zach and I, yesterday, and there was a couple mock drafts that had Tyler Warren dropping to 14th. Which
That'd be tempting.
That might be more tempting. But even then, are you willing to give up a first and maybe a second? Like, are you willing to do that and risk the future of next year's draft in for what you could have this year when you have a tight end in the building? I'm not willing to give up my first round draft picks because that's what you're doing to get Tyler Warren. Now, if Tyler Warren miraculously just drops to 20, take him. I'm okay with taking him. But I'm not moving up for a position that we just filled in the free agent market. I'm just not doing it. I'm going for the best player available at 20 or moving down with more picks if that's the case. But we need a running back, and that's what I'm focused on, Will.
But I watched this dude at Penn State, and not only could he catch the ball as a tight end, he could run the ball. Like, he literally checks every box of what a Joker is, at least to me. And people argue till they're red in the face about
Evan
what
Ingram's
a Joker
not a Joker now?
Tell me Evan Ingram's history carrying the football in the NFL. It's not much.
Well, he doesn't get the opportunities. I'm not like. Do you think that Tyler Warren's going to carry the football?
I think he could, and I think he could be a Joker.
Will like he is not going to carry the damn football like a running back. Who do you want? You want a tight end or you want Taysom Hill? Like you when you're looking at the tight end position, you're looking at a tight end that can do it all. When they talk about a Joker, guys, they're talking about a guy that can run every route in the route tree. They're talking about a guy that can break tackles, that has the speed like a receiver. That's what they're looking for. They're not looking for a Noah Fant, the first game of the year. Remember that where we gave him an end around?
Yeah,
we gave him an end around in the Raiders game.
That was dumb.
His first touch was an end around reverse that got hit for a -5 loss. I still remember that game. I was so pissed off.
Oh, I would be too, but I'm not putting Tyler Warren and Noah Fant in the same sentence. I think Tyler Warren's a much better football player than Noah Fant. I'm just telling you, Phil, we started this segment by saying we're 3 weeks from the draft.
Yeah.
3 weeks away. I'm just putting on your radar. If the surprise of draft night is the Broncos trading up to get Tyler Warren because George Paton.
Yeah, it's probably. I don't think the search is ever over.
He knows deep down that Sean still wants a Joker a la Tyler Warren who fits that mold. All right, so guess what? If you're on air with Zach and they're making trades,